All right, so for this, we are doing some color theory. So you should have a color wheel page and a value bars page. We're going to start with the color wheel page, but once you watch the video, you should be able to start with either, so it's a personal preference sort of a thing. I always say the color wheel is easiest to start with just because you don't have to worry about black and white and making brown. But so for this one, you are going to have 3 primary colors. You should only have 3 primary colors plus black and white. Okay, so we're going to start by putting our 3 primary colors into one of the circles. Okay, so I think I'm going to put red right here. I'm going to put yellow down in this one. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. And then I'm going to put blue down here. Now, you're doing this with paint. I'm just doing it with Notability so that it's easier for you to understand. Okay, next, the squares are going to get secondary colors. And at this part, it's important which square you put it in, because before, it doesn't matter which circle you put a primary color in. The primary colors, no other color can make them, so there's not a specific order to them. Purists might be like, oh, you got to put yellow at the top because it's the weakest, but no, it doesn't matter, okay? So, your squares, though, it does matter, okay? Because red plus blue does not make green, so you can't put green here. And I really suggest that you actually write the actual name of it. So it's yellow plus blue makes green, so I'm going to put green here. Because what's going to happen is, I'm going to guess at least 1 or 2 kiddos in class this year is going to accidentally put like their green in between their yellow and their red. And they won't realize it until they look at their color wheel and it doesn't quite look right. And that's just, it happens every year. Accidents happen. But that's why I tell you to take the pencil and lightly write in each of the names that go into each of the spots. Okay, so our second secondary color is going to be purple. All right, now purple is going to be red and blue. So purple, sometimes called violet, goes in here. And then last but not least is orange. And orange goes in our last box. Now to make orange and green, I will always start with yellow when I make it. So I will have like a big old blob of yellow like this. And then I will add just a little bit of red to it. Okay? And that is because red is a lot stronger than yellow. So I would rather end up with like a yellow orange right here and then have to add a little bit more red to get to my orange than end up like way over by my red and have to add a boatload of yellow to get it to be more of the yellow range, okay? So it's always better to go away from yellow than towards yellow. Now, when it comes to our triangles, those are our intermediate or tertiary colors. You'll find different definitions for these online. Some people use them interchangeably. Some people are like, no, you've got to be super specific like this. I'm cool with either way you want to say them, okay? But the triangles get those. And their names are actually pretty easy peasy because it's the primary plus the secondary. So here is going to be red purple or red violet. Well, as here is blue purple or blue violet. And the primary name always comes first, okay? So right here, I'm going to have red orange, not orange red. And here, I'm going to have yellow orange, not orange yellow. Which leaves me with yellow green and blue green. Now people might be all like, but that's teal, that's turquoise. That's getting into color naming, and then you get to go with like, oh, that's robin's egg blue. We're not going to deal with that, okay? Just go with their basic names. So that is the color wheel, and you're just going to nice and neatly paint in each of those boxes. You should have a small enough paintbrush, but if you don't, let me know. And then we are going to go on to the value bars. Okay, now with the value bars, this is when your white and your black start to come into play. And actually, we're going to start with white and black. And I will say that depending on how the black held up with the transition and the heat and whatever, getting from the school to your house and even just like in the school, sometimes our black gets a little weird looking. So if your grays on your value bar look a little odd and they look a little like light blue instead of gray, it's understandable, okay? But if you are ever like, I don't remember what this is supposed to look like, you can always go to Schoology, and there should be like a color theory study sheet that you can just download and take a look at it. It kind of looks like this. But that will tell you sort of what everything is supposed to look like, okay? Now, I need to make this box right here, this is all going to be painted black. And we're going to try it as neat as possible. So I'm going to try to be nice and neat here because neatness always counts. And then this box right here, I actually need to paint it white. Okay, I can't just leave it white. Because if you were to like leave part of your canvas white and like people would look at it and be like, why didn't they finish painting? Now, that's not always the case, but in the classroom, it's definitely going to look like on our canvas paper, it looks really different. Okay? Then what you're going to do is just like with our yellow, you are going to take a lot of white, just a little baby bit of black. And then instead of starting over again, you're going to take that light gray and add a little bit more black to get your mid-tone gray. And then you're going to take that gray and add just a little bit more black. Because you've probably had this happen to you before where you've added too much black and all of a sudden your color's just gone. Like you have no more color, okay? So you just got to be really careful about that. All right, so now we're going to move on to our tints and our shades, okay? So the first thing you do is you're going to take just like the pure solid color so this one says red, so this one's going to be all red, okay? Once again, your neatness will count. And then we have to make a tint. So a tint is a lighter version of the color. So as it turns out, this one has a name. It's pink, okay? People call the light red pink. It's the same thing. So just like up above, we actually want to go from lighter to darker. So we're going to start over here with a lot of white and a little bit of red. So this is going to be like a super light pink here. And then this one, we're going to add a little bit more red. So we'll have super light pink, pink, red, and then we go towards our shades. Now this means we have to start with a new mixing spot. We do not add black to our tint, okay? Because if you do that, you're going to get a tone because you're actually mixing gray with red and we don't want that. All right, so we're going to have our black and we're going to take our, I should start with my red first. Remember, we always start with red. So I'm going to take my red and then I'm just going to add a little bit of black for a slightly dark red. It might look a little bit like maroon, and that's just fine. And then I'm going to go over one, add a little bit more black for a slightly darker red, and it might look more like maroon, and that's just fine, okay? And that is how you do the value bars. So you've got your tints and your shades. You're going to do that with red, and you're going to do that with blue. Now here comes the hardest part on the whole sheet, okay? That is your complementary colors to make brown. Your complementary colors are opposites on the color wheel. So if you look, you've got your red and your green are complementary, your orange and your blue are complementary, and your yellow and your purple are complementary. And now typically I just let kids know, like, think of the sports teams. Like you've got the Minnesota Wild and the Vikings and the Bears or whatever, and they've got those colors. So what you'll first do is you'll take pure red. Oh, I gotta go bigger. You're gonna take your pure red and you're gonna put it right there. Then you're gonna take the green that you mixed. So if you have it up on your color wheel and you wanna drop it down there, that's just fine. Then what you're gonna do is you're going to mix your red and your green. So I'm gonna, over here, like, we're gonna pretend like this is my paint tray over here. I've got my red, or my green, and then I'm going to mix in some of my red. And what that's going to give me is that's going to give me sort of like a brown. Now my brown might end up looking kind of purpley because maybe my green has too much blue in it. So if it looks kind of purpley, what's the opposite of purple? Yellow. So you got to take yellow and add it to your brown. And it's kind of just a back and forth guessing game until you get to your brown. Okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take white and add some of your brown to it to get a tint of your brown. All right, then the next one down. You take your yellow, paint it here. You take your purple, paint it here. You're going to mix them together. And you know what? You might end up with a different brown. So like, let's say I've got my, So you might end up like with a slightly different brown. So like if you look at this, so like this brown here is going to look different than like a different brown from somewhere else, okay? So I'm going to end up with maybe like a brown that looks more like this. And it's going to go like that. You're going to end up with 3 different browns, okay? And I can tell if what you did, because a lot of times kids are like, I'm going to be sneaky and I'm just going to take the same brown and go all the way down. No, because once you add that tint to it, the tint is really going to help me figure out what underlying colors and mixtures and stuff you did. So don't try to be sneaky like that. It just won't work, okay? Like you might think you're sneaky, but man, I seen it so many times, okay? So then I have my orange, and then I'm going to mix, oh, I don't want the magnifying glass. I don't know what just happened, okay? So then I'm going to make my new brown, and we're going to pretend like this brown looks like, I don't know. We're going to have, a lot of times people end up with like a brown that kind of looks more like a greenish color, like an army color. That's fine, but there's my new brown. That's actually more of a tint, but whatever. You're picking up what I'm putting down, hopefully, by now. But so then you're going to end up with another tint, okay? So once all of that is done and dry, you are going to take a picture of both pages and upload it to your Schoology. Remember to edit your pictures, take a good picture, crop it, don't have it in a dark, don't take it in the dark kind of a thing. If you are forgetting how to do that, you can always go watch that video on how to edit pictures or look at the links. But if you send me a bad picture, that's going to really impact how I see those colors and how I'm able to grade, okay? So make sure that we send a good picture so that I can give you a good grade.